What's up, everybody? It's May the 13th. It's a Wednesday. Hope you're all doing good. Miss you guys. Haven't been making many videos lately. Um, haven't even really been on YouTube lately because, just the endless or the never ending ranting of every fear monger in the world is just getting extremely old to me. But either way, I had to make this video because everybody is talking about the end of the world on September 23rd of 2015. The end of the world, in which this comet, this supposed comet, which is going to come into our view much too late, although the governments are supposedly preparing for it, and the French have already supposedly disclosed the idea that they know that it's coming and have a contingency plan in place in order to destroy said comet, meteor, asteroid, whatever it actually is, and which time it's going to blow into smithereens, and yet a humongous chunk of it will come through the atmosphere, or many chunks will come through, but a large one will hit the Atlantic Ocean, causing a catastrophic event, unlike anything we've seen in our lifetime, or perhaps even the history of mankind as far back as it has been recorded. The reason why I was researching this content basically was because a friend of mine who you've probably seen on the videos I've been making. There's a couple out there called Bikini String Theory, in which me and my friend Sydney, as we'll call her because she doesn't want to actually give her real name on the internet, which I can't blame her for, because really anything you put on the internet can be scrutinized and used against you, and basically is in general just a bad idea anymore anyway. And in case you haven't noticed, most of the great YouTube channels are gone, and most of the YouTube channels that did have the biggest followings, even if the people who made them are still around, their channels have long since been destroyed, if not once, several times, and people have finally given up. But she was alluding to this idea basically that sometime in September, she didn't give an exact day, although she might have said the 23rd. Interestingly, she felt like some kind of catastrophic event was going to happen, which now it isn't just based on her research on the internet, but because also she's fairly intuitive, and as far as I'm concerned, you could consider her to be an indigo child or diamond child, or whatever you want to call them, divinely inspired, deeply intellectual, smart, and loving person who's well connected with the planet. So I started doing research on this thing, and I must say it's a pretty scary thing, much like all these other videos on YouTube. It's all very, very scary. Everyone's very scared about what's going to happen. I'm sure all the doomsday preppers are jizzing in their pants, basically, waiting to collect all their fucking water and rice and top ramen. This is the moment they've all been waiting for. Or is it? The title of this video is basically the end of the world. And the reason why I'm making this video is because as I've gone through and started trying to research this, I kind of go off on these tangents where I try to, basically, originally, I'm a truther at heart. I really believe in a lot of different things that many people find to be fringe. However, I spend more time than not debunking people because there's so many full of shit people out there. And even the people who aren't full of shit are typically fear mongers who are trying to scare people and trying to warn you and to prepare you for these upcoming events that never fucking happen. I spent a lot of time working on Alex Jones because he is the master of false fucking predictions. And when he does make predictions that do come true, which is an extreme rarity, I'm not entirely sure I can count them on more than one hand. His predictions, however, are numerous, more numerous than Nostradamus, who's made 900, who's said to have made 1,000, however, 942 have been recovered. You know, Alex Jones is probably the master of a million predictions. In fact, any show you listen to, you'll listen to hundreds of different predictions, like how we're all supposed to be in FEMA camps right now, and how there should have already been the missing suitcase nuke should have already gone off, and that they should have already taken our guns, and the dollar should have already crashed, and we should have had the New World Religion and the false flag alien extraterrestrial thing, even though he says he's not a ufologist should have already occurred as well. In fact, there's just so many, it would take me hours. In fact, I could probably spend a lifetime debunking the bullshit that comes out of his big, fat, stupid fucking mouth. The reason why I want to call this video the end of the world is because I'm sick of fucking hearing it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing about Comet Elenin. I'm sick of hearing about Hale-Bopp. I'm sick of hearing about Nibiru. I'm sick of hearing about this comet. I'm sick of hearing about that. You know, it gets to a point where I just can't take it anymore. You know what I mean? I am 100% convinced at this point that, you know, for all intents and purposes, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, that everyone really just wants the shit to go down. They see the world as fucked, and they really want to see the world burn. And most people won't admit it to themselves or anybody else. They really come from this stance of spirituality and enlightenment and awakenedness and truth. But there's no truth in any of this shit. And there never was. In fact, the best thing you could count on when it comes to predictions of the end of the world, the end of times, comets hitting Earth, or anything else, is that once someone gives a date, it's automatically bullshit. And I've said that in previous videos before. But in this case, I want to illustrate some examples of people throughout time who've made these similar type of predictions before you go and make your underground shelter. Now, with this all being said, I'm going to tell you right away that catastrophic events are going to happen. The climate's going to change. Things are going to happen. Species are going to die off. New species are going to be born. The world is static. It's a static universe. Things come and go. Everything is possible. Maybe perhaps not here in this third density that we perceive, but all things are possible. And so when you make these claims, truly, it really means absolutely nothing to me, because at some point all these claims can come true, because time never ends. It's like a point of true light that goes infinitely in one direction, like a line, like something you learn in geometry. But I just wanted to go over a listing of some of the other times that the world was supposed to end. Now, you're going to have to forgive me. I haven't memorized them all because they're so numerous that not only could I not document them all, but there's no possible way I could memorize all of them in time to make this video before, you know, the supposed end of the world in September 23rd. But let me start off here. Let me see here. Let me give you some examples of when the world was going to end. And, you know, on May 19th, 1780, a religious group called the Shakers believed Judgment Day had come, and it was due to gloom from heavy fog and forest fires. Okay, so in May 19th, 1780, the Shakers had said the world is going to end. When Halley's Comet came on March 8th, 1986, the New York Times, which it also came around in 1910, the New York Times actually tried to convince the public that the end was near. Let's see here, 1876. Founder of the Jehovah's Witnesses predicted the end and that Christ's return would happen in 1876, and was subsequently wrong 7 other times. His name was Charles Taze Russell. Let's see here. Herbert W. Armstrong, founder of the Worldwide Church of God, predicted the rapture would occur in 1936, then changed the date 3 more times himself. So, you know, anytime you get these things wrong, kind of like Alex Jones, you just say, oh, well, I must have calculated this wrong. I must have come up with the wrong date. In 1974, astrophysicist John Gribben and Stephen Plageman claimed that in their book, The Jupiter Effect, that on March 10th, 1982, catastrophic earthquakes would destroy all life on Earth. Y2K, I'm going to get back into that later, but geez, in 2001, let's give Alex Jones a round of applause for that one. That motherfucker is so full of shit. In fact, you know, Bill Cooper, who's now dead, rest in peace, made a great video, which you should all check out on YouTube, talking about just the ultimate master of bullshit and fear-mongering, which is Alex Jones. However, he's not the only one, and we'll get more into that later. Harold Camping, one of my favorite TV Christian televangelists, president of the Family Radio Network claimed doomsday would occur on May 21st of 2011. Of course, that didn't happen. So then he changed the date to October 21st, 2011, and he has since resigned. I don't know if you've caught any of his shows. I remember, going out on late night, TV, flipping through the channels in a hotel room or whatever and coming across his sermons and just kind of knowing he was kind of full of shit. But, when you go out there and make predictions like that, when you assume, what happens. Yeah, obviously, he was wrong. Here's another one. Taiwanese religious leader Hong Ming Chen, whom established Chen Tao, or the True Way, claimed God would appear on U.S. TV on Channel 18, which is kind of laughable now, like Channel 18 where? Like Jesus had chosen Channel 18 to come back to his people on March 25th, 1988, to announce his return. Then in the following year predicted mass flooding would destroy the entire human population. Apparently we're still here. Let's continue. Religious leader William Miller began preaching in 1831 that the world as we know it would end in 1843 due to the second coming of Christ. So once again, Christ was very late in returning, didn't quite make it on time. Then he recalculated, as most of these people do, because getting proven wrong once just isn't good enough. You really got to make a fucking ass of yourself. So he changed it to 1844, in which he was once again also wrong. Joanna Southcott predicted hearing voices, made a prediction based on hearing voices in her head that there would be crop failures and famines in 1799 and then into 1800. Her prediction also stated that in 1813 she would give virgin birth to the second coming of Jesus Christ, which would mark the end of times. As the story goes, she died at, I think it was 63 years old and died a virgin. Wow. In 1666, people believe, now, there's a good one. I mean, 1666, you got your 6, you got your 6. People believe that the Great London Fire marked the end of the world. It was so catastrophic that people believed that this was the mark of the end of times because all those poor white people died. However, only 10 people reportedly died in the fires, although, maybe it was 11 people. Yeah, obviously a world-changing event and widely recorded in history now. It's like, whatever. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. I want to say Johannes Stoffler, although it might be Johannes Stoffler or whatever, but he was a German mathematician, predicted a great flood would cover the earth, and he even called out the day, February 25th, 1524. Pope Innocent III claimed the world would end in 1284 by adding 666 years to the date that the religion of Islam was founded. Yeah, that was clever and fucking retarded. 1669, 20,000 Russian people burned themselves to death, believing they were protecting themselves from the imminent return of the Antichrist. 20,000 people. In 1736, British theologian and mathematician William Whitson predicted biblical-like floods that year on October 13th, in which the world would end, much like the floods in the time of Noah. Let's continue even further. Charles Wesley, one of the founders of Methodism. If you don't know what that is, well, whatever. Google it, although why waste your time? He was wrong. Claimed doomsday would occur in 1794. Ellen White, founder of the Seventh-day Adventists, which I try not to bash on the Seventh-day Adventists too much. I got some relatives who are Seventh-day Adventists, and technically based on the way the calendar works and everything else, they're actually right, and so you can't talk too much shit about that. However, you can talk shit about the fact that they claim the world would end on June 27th, 1850. But they're still around. Mother Shipton, 16th century mystic, claimed the world would end in the year 1881. Now, here's one of my favorites, the Watchtower Society. If you're a Christian, you're probably familiar with the Watchtower Society. They claim the world would end in 1914. Not just 1914, though. They also claim that the world would end in 1915. Claim the world would end in 1918. Claim the world would end in 1920. Claim the world would end in 1925. Claim the world would end in 1941. Claim the world would end in 1975. Claim the world would end in 1994. And by God, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't claim it would end in the year 2000, the year 2012. And by God, they probably think it's going to end this year too on September the 23rd. I haven't verified those last three dates, but I think it's pretty safe to say. Meteorologist Albert Porta predicted the sun would explode on December 17th, 1919. Psychic Jeannie Dixon, or is it Jeanne Dixon? I think it's Jeannie Dixon. She was actually Nancy Reagan's personal psychic who used to look into a crystal ball to decipher the secrets of the future. She was also well noted for creating an astrology book for dogs, which I find actually to be kind of amusing, but fucking retarded, right? Claimed the world would end on February 4th, 1962. Like a dog gives a shit, right? Dogs, well, you know, they want to be petted and they want to lick their balls. Who gives a shit? Famous televangelist Pat Robinson claimed that between October and November of 1982 would be the official start of the end times. You know, somewhere between that time, basically, and guaranteed Judgment Day by the end of that year. And people still listen to that guy, okay? Even Nostradamus, okay? Now, this one is kind of fringe for me. This one's kind of on the fence because people say that Nostradamus predicted that in the year 1999 that the world was going to end. Although, let me read you this quatrain or this thing that he wrote, and then you tell me if he actually said that. The year 1999, the 7th month, from the sky will come a great king of terror to bring back the great king of the Mongols before and after Mars to reign by good luck. Now, I had to sit here for a few minutes and try to figure out at what point that says shit about the end of the world. I do see a thing where it says the great king of terror, bring back the king of the Mongols. I honestly think this has just been blown out of proportion and used divisively by people that try to fearmonger people into thinking that the Y2K thing was going to be the end of the world. However, as I read this, I really see no indication of him saying that at all. In fact, when I read most of his predictions, they're so vague. To be honest with you, even though as a kid I loved him very much, it just doesn't mean shit to me. So we can actually throw that one out necessarily. It's just when people say that he did that and he was wrong, you could go either way. You could say, oh, maybe, maybe not, because that thing that he said really, I can't understand where that means he was saying the end of the world. It just says fucking bloppity bloop, whatever. Do I have any more here? I mean, the list goes on. I mean, these are just ones, notable ones, because, see, I didn't want to just bring out people because, you know, you got your everyday crazies who all think that they're having visions and seeing the end of the world. In fact, me as a child did have a vision of the end of the world, which actually looks almost astonishingly like San Andreas, the movie trailer, which basically what happened is people say you don't die in your dreams. Well, in this dream, I died. There was a catastrophic earthquake in this. And now it's hard to say what caused the earthquake. I didn't have that vision in my dream, but a large hutch had fallen on top of me and killed me. When it killed me, my spirit rose out of my body, and I looked down upon my dead body in my dream. Hence, when people tell you you can't die in your dream, they're full of fucking shit, because not only have I died that time in my dream, I have died other times in my dreams, and in those dreams I have risen out of my body, looked down upon my dead body as a spirit. In this dream that I had, I was at the Golden Gate Bridge, and not only did I see tsunamis that were just, they literally dwarfed the actual tall high-rise buildings that were there. Tsunamis coming in that literally that go like beyond your highest expectation of biblical proportion, basically. As this was happening, volcanoes were erupting. And as a spirit, I was able to teleport around the world and see worldwide devastation that actually did kind of indicate to me in the dream that there was a possibility that the world absolutely could end. And when it did, it wouldn't be just from one earthquake or one thing. More like a chain of events, like one thing triggering off a chain of events where all things literally are just decimated. You know what I mean? I thought I'd throw that in there because I've had those dreams too. However, I didn't go out and fucking write a book or make an official statement or go on television and tell people that I knew the date of the end of the world and that the end of the world was going to happen. However, what I will tell you is that when people say you can't die in your dream, you can absolutely die in your dream. You can feel what it's like to be a spirit in your dream, and it just so happens in that dream I did witness these events. I'm not going to tell you anything other than that. Just that's what happened. On January 1st, 2001, or 2000, we have so many people who predicted that that millennia was going to be the end of the world, much like the previous millennia in the year 1000, okay, AD. But in the year 2000, even my favorite, the sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce, had predicted the end of the world and had been wrong. Sun Myung Moon had been wrong. Ed Dobson had been wrong. Jerry Falwell had been wrong. And then you've got the whole 2012 thing. Now, since 2012, most of the people who made their predictions were on YouTube. And what you'll find is there was such a huge preponderance of people saying there would be a major spiritual shift on December 31st of 2012, or whatever day it was, the end of 2012. And you had an equal, if not larger share of people who said that was in fact the end of the world. In fact, so many fucking people were saying that was going to be the end of the world that even I believed that there was a possibility that that was going to be the end of the world. I really wanted to spend a large portion of this video focusing on those particular people because, it's so recent. I really wanted not to expose these ancient fucking idiots, but like literally expose these new age guys that you see on YouTube every single day who jumped on that bandwagon, said they had heard this and heard that, and they had visions of it and everything else. And strangely enough, as I go on YouTube to look it up, all those videos are gone. Because people can now just make these predictions blindly, scare the shit out of people, erase the videos, and then pretend like they never happened. But one such person was David fucking Wilcock, the supposed reincarnation of Edgar Cayce. He is not the reincarnated, sleeping prophet, A. And B, he was one of these 2012ers all the fucking way. It's hard to find videos of it right now, but I really wanted to just debunk some of these modern guys. So I leave it up to you as we close in on this supposed date, this September 23rd. Keep track of all these people who are making these predictions, all these people who are jumping on this bandwagon. Download their videos and save them so we can call them out on their bullshit next time. YouTube is so full of shit. These predictions are so full of shit. In fact, there's so many full of shit, fear-mongering, bullshit artists. I almost hope that the world does end on the 23rd just to shut you fuckers up. I'm done with it. So what? Let's look at this. The world's supposed to end in 1780, 1986, 1910, 1876, 1936, 1974, Y2K, 2011, 1988, 1843, 1831, 1844, 1799, 1800, 1813, 1666, 1524, 1284, 1669, 1736, 1794, 1881, 1914, 1915, 1918, 1920, 1925, 1941, 1975, 1994, 1919, 1962, 1982, 1999, the year 2000, the year 2012, the year 2013, the year 2015. I fucking had enough. You guys want to do something positive with your time? Let's do something good for people, okay? Let's just do something nice. Instead of spending all your time hoping every fucking day the world ends because you don't want to work at your dumbass job anymore and you're living this pointless fucking life where you listen to these dumbass people who are full of themselves and have their head stuck up their own ass. Let's just do something good this year, guys. How about on September 23rd, we do something fucking nice? In fact, today, why don't you do something nice? Why don't you give $1 to a homeless guy? Why don't you feed a homeless guy? Why don't you plant a plant, okay? Why don't you say something nice to someone? Why don't you take your kids somewhere? Why don't you take your wife out to dinner? Why don't you clean something? Why don't you build something? Why don't you draw something? Just do anything. You know what I mean? It's a joke. The world isn't gonna fucking end. But with some, God willing, maybe we will. I'm tired of it. But I love you guys, and I believe we can be more. I believe we can do more. I'm tired of listening to these politicians and listening to these way of life. I'm listening to these dogmas that are hateful, that are disrespectful, that are ignorant, it's full of superstition. Dude, this is our world. We can do anything we want to do. We could make this a heaven on earth. And wasn't that what Jesus was trying to get us to do? As you guys all argue over what Jesus thought and what Jesus was saying, why don't we just try to do that? Why don't we just try to be nice to each other? Why don't we just end all this war shit right now? All this warmongering, everyone vying for all these resources and trying to, push their big dicks around the world. And why don't we just spend a moment just trying to make it a better place. Love you guys. Peace.